you know, or some situation that gives some outer situation that gives us happiness. But I think that he may have been trying to direct us towards something else that it's like a kind of gladness, and the gladness rises up from inside of us and it moves outward. And as that inner gladness rises up, it meets conditions in the world and it transforms the nature of appearances for us. So actually, it's not something coming to us that can give us this kind of gladness. It is how our own intrinsic and cultivated and developed gladness impacts upon the things that we encounter in the world. And so then we're responsible then for our own gladness, or we're responsible for our own happiness, we're responsible for our own contentness, we're responsible for ourselves in how we hold the world. Otherwise, what is the purpose and the benefit of the Dhamma if we're still looking for something out there to impact upon us? Then we're headed in the wrong direction, make a U-turn. But what we're learning is that we have the capacity and we have the power, if we have the willfulness, and if we have the views that produce that outcome in our life. So if what we're doing is not leading us towards that, then we need to look at what we're doing. And I say, look at what we're doing because, cultivation is not just reading text or intellectually talking about, theories. Actually, Dharma is what we actually do with our thoughts, with our speech, with our action. The Dharma is, we do Dharma. Now studying Dhamma is good, but it can only take you so far. It's not going to bring you liberation you seek. If you're not seeking liberation, it's because you missed the principal purpose of the Dhamma, because his Dhamma was for the purpose of being liberated from the cycles of samsara, birth and death. And so the only way I can be free from birth and death, or things coming and going, is to have a different view about what is present. If coming and going is their very nature, then there's really no coming and going. It's just the nature of the world. And so then I'm not moved when things appear to come and go. That is their very nature. It's a very slight difference, but if the mind starts to really see that, then coming and going is almost like a static thing, a necessary part of existence. And that is what this existence is, an existence of things coming and going, from thoughts to feelings to conditions to external phenomena to people in and out of our life, to the things we have and lose, the things we don't have and get. All of that is the very nature of samsara. And so we can find that to be troubling unless we are really on target with that's exactly how it is, and then we don't have expectations of things. I was telling somebody that in our store in the last 3 weeks, we've had a burglary 3 times, so the first time I said, another day in the life of samsara. The second week, I said, another day in the life of samsara. And by 2 days ago, then I said, okay, so then I need to look and see what I need to do this. I need to either have more, I need to have more security. I need to look and see if that's a financially feasible alternative. Or then I need to sell the store because the conditions are such that I'm not going to be able we're not going to be able to achieve what we want to achieve with it. I mean, it's simple as that. I don't have to get mad about it. I don't have to get perturbed about it. I don't have to be fearful about it. I don't have to be upset about it. I just need to clearly look and see this is what it is. See how things are moving, and if I can deal with that. If I can deal with that, just keep replacing the glass doors and keep going on, increase the revenue or whatever. What I'm saying to you is that I don't care what's coming in your life. It's not a matter of what's arising and departing. It's a matter of how you hold it in its totality in your life. And when you can, and the practices that we do are designed to help us do that. Sitting on the meditation pillow is great. The Buddha said, I don't call that practice. He said, I call that a tranquil abiding here and now. And he said, this is what I call practice. And he began to riff off about, 40 different things that people do that cause them this mental disturbance and agitation, and either for themselves or others. And he said, but we don't do that here. So if we're on the Buddhist path, there's some ways that seem right to men, but we have to say, that's not right for me. We don't do that. So there were so many customers, and customers really love the store, and they said, we just love coming in here. We don't know what it is, but I know what it is. They said, we're so happy when we see all the nuns in here, and they're so pleasant. And, I come in with a bad attitude, and they just smile sweetly no matter what I say. And then the next, they just love coming in because there is a feeling of love and of total acceptance there, that this is a safe zone when you come in. Some come in 3 or 4 times a day, and so it has taken on a different kind of ministry for us in serving the community, not just with things, but we bring a brightness to their life. So that's one way we can begin to understand how the Dhamma impacts us and how we can impact others without even trying to impact others, simply by finding our own happiness. It does, that job, that's a freebie job. It doesn't get any easier than that your only job is to find your happiness. And when you find yours, it cannot be hidden from the world. And just by the very nature of coming into contact with you, that others' lives are brightened and they receive joy. So I'm asking you this week to think about how you impact others, how you handle situations, how quickly you rebound if you don't handle them well. I mean, we're not 100%, we're not Buddhists, but, so we fall down, we get up. How quickly can you recover? What example of the Dhamma do you show to the world? Not just what you can talk about, but what can you live before the world? And not to despise small beginnings, so you're not where you want to be, but you're not where you were. If you were, just simply, recognize that, call it out on yourself, and do better. But once you are constantly making, and keeping a vow to yourself to embody the Dhamma, you'll begin to see it work in your life in a profound way. And you'll see it work in other people's lives without you even trying. So the good thing is that just by improving ourselves, we become bodhisattvas, in the causal stage. So it's easy to move into the bodhisattva path without so much doing. So you are actually doing without doing, and nothing then, he said, goes undone. So I wanted to talk about one thing that the Dhamma constantly reminds us of, and that is focusing. We're advised to avoid conceit, and we generally think of conceit as having a sense of superiority, but in the Dhamma, it doesn't speak of conceit in quite that way. So it could be a sense of superiority, but it could also be a sense of being inferior to others. And it even includes thinking that you're equal with others. So, I mean, that only leaves us one place to go. So, it's speaking of you being the center of your world and looking out from every angle from a seat of self. And so he says one should not think of oneself higher than others. One should not think of oneself lower than others, not even to think of oneself equal with others. And so that means that only leaves not thinking in terms of self and other at all. And so this this ideal of non-self or no self is really about just not thinking of oneself at all. It's the way we can unconsciously respond to others without any conceptualization of I and what's in it for me, what's best for me. Well, I'm going to try to serve you. I'm going to try to help you. I'm going to try to take care of you. But, if I'm going to try to do that, that means that I'm also looking, the word try, I'm going to try to do that. I'm already positioning how this impacts me in the process. But if you start with little things, like when an impulse comes up and you think about doing something, and then like maybe you just feel the tug on your heart, but before you could do it, then the brain kicks in and says like that, you really don't have time for that. Do you really want to commit yourself to that? And by the time you finish, like you can't do it. You can't do it because like your common sense is taken over, and so sometimes we have too much common stuff. I was thinking I have all the common stuff I want. I don't want any more common sense. I want the kind of sensibility that comes from the Dhamma, because it transports me out of an ordinary mind, into the mindset of a holy being, and that sits and postures and looks out over the horizon from, an entirely different trajectory. So when my mind starts to speak to me, and starts trying to protect me, I take a second look and I take a third look, because I want to know for a fact that I am not at the center of the decision that I'm making. So learning how to step outside of oneself, after a while, it just becomes like driving a car. You learn how to drive a car. Muscle memory has to go into place. And whatever else goes into place that makes you remember how to turn the ignition, how to check the rear view mirror. I used to say in the old days, and how you could light your cigarette, turn on the radio, roll down the window, everything all at one time. You don't have to relearn that every time you get in a car, I mean, whatever your body does and your mind does, it does it well. It puts that memory in there and you just get right in and all of that's there. So don't you know that the same things can happen for us concerning the Dhamma if we got the Dhamma in us, the way we get driving that car in us? It could, that our muscle memory will kick in, and instead of having a knee-jerk reaction, we'll have a lean-in reaction. But we have to know that that's possible for us, and we have to really want to do it. A lot of why we don't do more, do better, is because, frankly, we're not willing. I'm willing to do this much, but I'm not willing to do that. So the first question is, what am I willing to do? Am I willing? And some of us have to check in on our willingness. It was like, I wish I could. I wish I could. It's like when you're moving, and you have all your friends, but on that day that you move, you hardly find a friend. I got something to do today. Moving. Oh, I can't come today, bro. I wish I could come help you. And so our own mind speaks to us in that way. We talk about all the stuff we're going to do, and the mind starts salivating. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. But when it comes time to actually initiate, the mind said, I can't hang with you, sister. I can't do that today. And like, you shouldn't even be thinking that in that way. Look at this. What's supposed about, and it starts giving you all of your objections from inside. And you say, oh, that's wisdom, that's wise. Yeah, I didn't think about that. And the next thing you know, you're off of your good intention. And like maybe next time it comes around, you'll do a little bit better. So there we have to check in. And what is our state of willingness? Then what's our state of readiness? Are we ready? Sometimes we want to do things and we haven't put our house in order. We haven't handled taking care of the things that need to be taken care of to allow us the freedom, the liberty to step out in the ways that we want to step out. We don't qualify. In other words, we haven't met the prerequisite standard for entering into some of the things and some of the modes of being that we want to enter into. So it's like I don't want to do my studies, but I want the teacher to give me an A, and I want him to give me the highest lessons too, but we get the higher lessons and we can't even understand them. We get the opportunity to walk the highest path, but we can't walk it. So we start striving, stressing, and faking. And after a while, we lose sight of it being a real goal. So then we just start talking about it, and then we start all these discussion boards, and we start all these book clubs and all of that. But it's about the walking out every day of what one says one believes. And we find our strength and our capacity as we go through the tougher lessons. Let's say that one's muscles are weak. You don't start with 50, trying to lift 50-pound weights. You start with 2 pounds. And then when you can do that with ease, you go maybe to 5 pounds. When you can do that with ease, you go to 10 pounds and so forth, incrementally. We don't start with the heaviest weight. But by the same token, when we have built up our strength on the 2 pounds, it's like, well, we don't stay with 2 pounds, not if we're trying to get stronger. So we need to check into the greater challenges, some things we couldn't do before, some ways we couldn't tolerate before, and we're trying to step into those ways and see how we do. May not do so good in the beginning, but we don't give back up and go back to the 2 pound. We just keep exercising with the 5 pound challenge until that becomes easy. And then we seek or are able to step into, you don't have to seek the challenges. They're going to come, because that's why you're here in Samsara. They're going to come to you. That this is where you will walk them out, the ones that are ripening, that produce the condition for your appearance in this particular world. So when something comes at you, you needn't think like it came by the hands of those people. So they're at fault. You just recognize that them as your good friend, because you're taking care of something in your life. If you don't believe in causality, I don't know where to take you in this discussion. All conditions are due to causes, then there can't be any condition that manifests in my life that a cause, whether in this life or in a previous rebirth linkage, did not, there wasn't a cause that is now producing results. And because this is what the Buddha says, if we embrace what he says, and that is that when one is undertaking something, that in the action, the fruit of it is co-arising. In other words, the minute I do a thing, its fruit or its result is rising, concurrently with that action. It's not like I do something and then there's a result. There is a cause and then there's a result. The cause and the result are co-arising. And so once an action is undertaken, at some point, the fruit of that will manifest. This life, tomorrow morning, next life, whenever it does. So whenever there is an appearance of something, I know there was a condition created that allows this to come. So I don't worry about it, because it's here now. I don't have to think like what caused that? Why did it come upon me? All I need to know is that whatever I do about it in this present moment is going to determine what the next moments are going to be like, what's going to arise in the future. So a lot of the people came with the story. They said, I know y'all Buddhists don't believe in, harming anybody and everything, right? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, that's why they keep hitting your store. He said, but if you want, I'll come in here and sleep. I had about 5 customers that offered to come and sleep in the store and bring their 9mm. I said, I'm not going to kill anybody over somebody stealing the cash register or taking some merchandise. He said, we know you're not, but we love this place. We'll come in here and we'll safeguard it for you. And we'd laugh about it, but it let me know something. It let me know about the impact that we're having in the community. And I think that will also have its benefit, if we can endure till the end. If not, then we did the best we can. No harm, no fault. You see, so you can win and you can lose, and you can still be okay. You can suffer gain, you can inherit gain, or you can suffer loss, and it still be the same. So where then would there be the cause for sorrow and for grief and for anger if one could train their mind to think in this way? Now, in order to train your mind, you have exercises that you go through, right? You have training exercises. So suppose we thought of these vicissitudes that come into our life, not just what we call the negative things versus the positive things, but the positive things too. So we have praise and blame, loss and gain, pleasure and pain, fame and shame, but when they come into our lives, suppose we didn't think about them in such a way that we prefer these or like these and we reject those. Suppose we just saw them as what arises just as surely as the out breath follows the in breath, then we'd have a different kind of relationship with things. We'd have a different kind of relationship with people. And we would have a kind of gladness that cannot be overshadowed by what is coming at us. When things come at us, we have a standard to raise up against them. So a lot of people who walked with the Buddha, when they started to really get this, they said, I thought he was going to be a powerhouse. He's going to raise up an army. They said the same thing about Jesus. And I thought he was going to raise up an army and vindicate us. And he said, no, that's not my Dhamma. And the Buddha said, no, that's not my Dhamma. So there are some of us who have little dust in our eyes, and we understand that what we have to, what we are confronted with in the moment is not worthy to be compared to the excellency of the peace that one can inherit, if they will follow the path to the end. So I encourage you today to check in with yourself, about how meaningful is your Buddhist practice. The whole point of being a Buddhist is to attain spiritual awakening, which means to maximize your compassion and your wisdom. And we do that little by little, step by step, thing by thing, in our relationship, person to person. And so all of this is your work every moment of the day. That's your practice. Not when we sit on the pillow. When we sit, that's if we've done good all day in our practice. When we get to sit, we inherit a pleasant abiding here and now. And he said it was a kind of peace that the world didn't give, so the world can't take it away. I think another thing that we could do is savor the moments of clarity that we had. Take note of them. Some of us are always criticizing ourselves and others. We're always comparing, ourselves, what we don't have compared to what somebody has. And that's a surefire way for one to become dissatisfied. It's what keeps us tethered to a yearning and craving. But when we can become satisfied, grateful, I would say, having a sense of gratitude for the next breath and for whatever we have, and always recognizing there's somebody who's in worse shape, it's just a way that one fashions their mind so that they find something in this present moment to celebrate, to be grateful for. And when one thing the Buddha said is that when we are like that, then we are glad and our mind is bright and clear. When the mind is bright and clear, I have night blindness, so I'm always checking the time when I go out, to make sure I can do what I need to do and get back home before it gets too dark. It's terrible getting old before it gets too dark, but just that one thing that I have recognized has made me so, appreciative of things. I mean, really, really appreciating things because it's wonderful to be clear and bright. Every day I encounter a darkness and where my world gets fuzzy, if I'm out in it. And so to have an appreciation of the daytime is what I'm saying. And in the same way, as we walk the Dharmic path and things are made clear to us, to relish that and rejoice in it rather than coming up with our yeah buts. So that means that when we read a portion of Dhamma or we hear a portion of Dhamma, instead of the mind just rising right up to refute that because it requires too much effort on our part or because I don't know if I agree with that, he said, that's right. He said, just listen. He said, just listen to the Dhamma. That's the first thing, to listen. We can't talk, not even mental chattering. We can't talk and listen at the same time. So he said, just listen to it. Then he didn't say, and put it up against what you already know and you decide if it's good or not. He said, then put it into practice. He said, try that first. He said, and then when you know for yourself that it is worthy to be kept, and he said, then keep it. He said, and if not, you can just set that part aside. But we like to immediately critique something based on our memory. I started to say based on our experience, but I'll just call it memory, based on our memory, and our memory is not what's happening in this particular moment, at this particular time, with the you not of last year or 10 years ago, but that you that is expressing today, it's a whole different scenario, a whole different circumstance, so we can't use yesterday's information in a total way to accept or reject or to critique something new coming into our life. And so it invites us to have some courage, to listen to new ideas, to try new things, to even test ourselves in ways that we would have failed in the past, but that we can be different today. We can be better today. And that way we gain courage. That way we gain strength and fearlessness. But not only that, it creates the space for creativity to arise Instead of us being cranktified and narrow, we become more expansive as time goes on. And then we can be more like the Buddha, which is more the leaves in my hand or the leaves in the forest. So the leaves in my hand are what I'm teaching you right now. The leaves in the forest is what I know. But we can't know if we cling so tightly to only the leaves in our hand. That's what I'm saying. It's the path that should give us, it should enthuse us every day being a new day to walk more fully in the Dhamma, in the protection of the Dhamma. And it doesn't mean that the Dhamma will protect us in an outward way from everything that arises, but the Dhamma will protect us in an inner way, in that we will understand the nature of things, and therefore we will be able to allow them to be in our life, because the conditions, we can recognize the ripening of conditions, and we have the strength to go through some hard times. Sometimes we go through hard times just from the conditioning of being with others. And we're all in it together, and just recognizing we have to walk that out. I remember they used to ask me all the time, and I'm getting close to being through because I know we end at 9 or 8, I guess, your time. But they used to ask me all the time, what's the solution to patriarchy, and not letting the women ordain? I said, well, we just have to wait till they die. They're not going to change. And that's not a death wish on anybody. That's just a fact, that we're not going to be able to change everybody's mind. And so the old ones that were saying, no, we don't want to let women ordain, they're not going to live forever. Of course, we aren't either. But, we can just hold on. We can do what we do, ordain them anyway. If they don't want to accept, what is that to do with us? And so we don't have to make a fight about everything, is what I'm saying. Because fighting someone and forcing them is not really making them, even if you win the argument or win the battle or win the struggle, it's not a real win. A real win is when you win over your enemy. Or maybe it's sometimes when the enemy's not there anymore, so the whole problem goes away. That's what I'm talking about. We will gain wisdom in how to look at things so that we can remain peaceful and calm. Even in a hurricane, we can find the eye of the storm. So I think I have time. I had a whole list of them, and I wanted to go with the ones that felt right to me. I'd like to say something. We have a book of protections or the blessings that we chant as monastics. They ask the Buddha, like, what's the highest blessing? And he'd say something. Then he'd say, and this is the highest blessing. Then you go to another standard and say something, and you say, and this is the highest blessing. I mean, it's like a billion of them, and they're all the highest blessing, and I enjoyed it so much because, it lets us know how much room there is in the Dhamma if we really understand it, and to the one who is childless, who wants a child, conceiving is the highest blessing, and to the one that doesn't want children, not conceiving is the highest blessing. And so it helps, it says basically, look at your own life and the things that, that you desire, that you have a propensity for. It's, he's not against us having things, he's against things having us, so but we can certainly enjoy things. And so what this living this energetic, pure life, in a non-judgmental way, recognizing that we are living in a realm of cause and effect, helps us to accept each day and the challenges that it brings. And if we look equally at the blessings that we have in the course of the day, one of them for the day is that I'm still breathing, I'm still here. Yeah, you know, and we would recommend generosity. We would recommend kind words, beneficial help. We'd be consistent, you know, in the face of things happening. Could be steady. We could be sure people could know that they could trust us and lean upon us. And when things have to change, we wouldn't take it personally, like I'm such a failure. You know, we would just look at and see that the conditions are not right. No matter how good your intentions are, you're not going to make everything happen the way you want them to happen. It depends on so many factors, you know, so we can be easier with ourselves. We can really try to have a not a false sense of positivity, but just a clear sense that we are part and parcel of of the world, and we can only be in our own place. Finally, he said, the strongest expression of who we are is how we treat our enemies. That's tough. We still learn how to be good friends with our friends, much less how the eye that we have towards an enemy. But he said, monks, even if bandits were to carve you up savagely, limb by limb, with a two-handled saw, he among you who let his heart get angry, even at that, would not be doing my bidding. Even then, you should train yourselves. Our minds will be unaffected, and we will say no evil words. We will remain sympathetic with a mind of goodwill and with no inner hate. We will keep pervading these people with an awareness imbued with goodwill, and beginning with them, we will keep pervading the all-encompassing worlds with an awareness imbued with goodwill, abundant, expansive, immeasurable, free from hostility, free from ill will. That's how you should train yourselves. And so if I like just put that over my dresser, you know, I had a checkup these past 3 weeks. You know, that's one of my favorite passages, you know, and I could check and see how I was doing. And I really had compassion. I recognized suddenly, I saw so clearly how damaging how drugs trafficking is ravaging our communities. You know, and that people go out and pilfer and steal and rob uh, and burglarize to get that money to get those drugs. I mean, we got the cameras. We see the there was two people, different people. You know, they had ski masks on. We can't identify them. You know, but I felt a pity for a person debasing themselves in that way. Yes, I felt for my loss too, equal, you know, but I also felt for them. And I have offered up a sincere prayer that something comes into their life uh, that changes their condition. Yeah. So check yourself out this week. Is there someone um, that you can not forgive? I say to you, forgive, no matter what they do. I've given this charge to you. Forgive. And forgiving doesn't mean that one becomes a doormat. It doesn't mean that one can just allow anything. It's like I've said many times, you know, if a person is in your life and they're not doing the right things, you can just say, you know, see that door right there, there's no lock on it. You know, you don't have to go away mad, but you do have to go away. I mean, we can do it without do the things that we have to do without having hatred and anger and bitterness in our hearts. And if you do this every day, will be a good day, no matter what comes. And so I'd like for us to just sit for a few minutes now, just in gratitude that we had this time together to share. That's in gratitude because we have good friends in the Dhamma that encourage us along the way, that inspire us to stay on the path, that understand when we fall due to our own ignorance, that they simply say, get back on the path. The ones who come to support us in the time of need, the ones who love us enough to just tell us the truth. All of these things, I am so grateful. And just feeling that gratitude as it rises up brings a certain kind of energy, a kind of joy, a kind of brightness, a kind of strength. And at the same time, a kind of peacefulness and emerging compassion. And we are covered with it first. We experience it in ourselves as it is rising. So we are the first recipients of it. And we allow it to fill us to overflowing. And as it spills over, we encompass those that we love, those who are near to us, those that are dear to us, those that we pass along the way, some that we know intimately, some that we know casually, some that we know barely, and even some we don't know at all. And it can extend even further, like ripples, like waves of gratitude and acceptance for those who are different from us, those who are not like us, those who are not our clan, those who are not in our communities, in our territory, in our vicinity, in our part of the world, even. But this ocean of gratitude can just simply expand and expand until it covers the earth. We flow, we are buoyed by the rising tide of this sea of gratitude. And as it expands and as it deepens, we find ourselves floating to the top of it, buoyed by the water, and it carries us home. And as the songwriter said, may the long time sun shine upon you. All love surrounds you. And the pure light within you guide your way home. Ding.